Okay, well, count us in, we can go. I'll do an initial quick thing and then we can start at things, okay? How's that sound?
Yeah.
And we are live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Pit Lane's second year birthday practice session with the Lotus 49 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the United States. Tonight's a practice session leading up to Thursday night and race to celebrate the second year anniversary, become a staple as part of the UKI community here at iRacing. 2 years ago, formed Pit Lanes as a small group of like-minded racers that went on to become a team, and now it's one of the main names in running events within the UKI community. This season they're running road and oval sessions with the Ford Mustangs, running multiple series and overall team championships, so keep your eye out for that, folks. With me in the box tonight we have Richard Goodwin and Veit Salomon. So say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So just going to run quickly over to Richard Goodwin, if we can get the camera on his car if he's out on track. Richard, would you like to talk us through how you take a lap here at Indianapolis?
Okay, well, I'm just coming up to the third corner and I'll just navigate this. It should be quite interesting because I'm just catching Alexander Phillips. Okay, I'll just get on to start, finish straight.
Let's see if we can get an onboard camera view here, maybe the gyro.
Okay, so shift up into fifth gear, coming towards the first corner, looking for the tarmac going darker. Then shift down into fourth gear. Keep the car balanced with the traction there. Oh, incident ahead. And keep it in fourth into the second corner. And then out and up into fifth gear again. And just maximising the speed down the straight, the exit out of each corner. And then again when the tarmac's going dark, drop it down the gear, allow the rear to step out a bit, oversteer a bit and help with the initial turning. And pretty much the same here, bit of understeer. And then watch for the exit, give it the power, little bit of a oversteer there and then out onto the start finish straight again.
Oh, thank you for that onboard lap, Richard. You're saying that tonight's the same weather will be running for the official race on Thursday. What do you think the best grip is on the track? Which line do you think is the best? And which corner do you think is going to be the biggest challenge?
Well, it's funny. The corners look like they'll be the same, but they actually are different because I always feel that turn 3 and 1 are the fastest. Turn them in fifth gear, so you've got to be mindful of that. And then coming into like the fourth corner and stuff, you've just got to control the slide out 3. I think the best way is just to get down low through the corners and control. It will be fairly nose to tail. I mean, I think you could take a higher line, but it will cost you time, sort of thing. I'd only go up there if I was just letting guys by, sort of thing. I don't think you could run it successfully.
Okay, well, thank you for the insight there. Veit, how are you finding the car tonight?
Well, I had the opportunity to test car tonight because I have no wheel here where I'm currently at, and I was trying the car during the weekend with Sunny and just with the baseline, and I quite like it here. It was fun, no grip and so on, a lot of sliding. I really like that.
And a totally different perspective there. So guys, you know, you've both driven the car a bit, you know, maybe some more than others, Richard. How do you think people... It's a steep learning curve for this car. And we've got a lot of people who maybe are new to the vehicle, just jumping in because it's this race. Obviously, I don't think it would be realistic that a race will run green. How soon do you think we'll get our first caution? The starting grid, or maybe turn 1?
I don't think it'll take very long to be... I mean, I'd like to think people would exercise a bit of caution, but quite honestly, I mean, I've been lapping now. I've done 23 laps and I've had no issues, but I have come close to the wall a few times, and it really is a very easy car to make an honest mistake in. The combo just invites you to get the power down, so it's very easy to make a mistake. So, the lottery, I think, but hopefully we won't see too many caution laps.
Hopefully indeed. It's a very long track for a caution lap, I think, especially in this little car.
Yeah.
So, at the moment we have 10 cars out on track, and most people seem to be running around with a fair degree of ability, although there's some billowing clouds of tyre smoke as people lose the back end of this rather lively vehicle. Just a bit of background information for people on the Lotus 49, possibly the oldest car in iRacing, brought in 1967 for the F1 season that year by Colin Chapman and Maurice Felipe. Designed first F1 car and the forebear of modern generation to have the engine as a stressed component of the monocoque chassis. So, a totally revolutionary design and quite an iconic vehicle for us to have here in iRacing. There's quite a dedicated community, isn't there, Richard, for this vehicle? You mentioned you've been part of that before. What are the races like for that?
The races I've been a part of have always been very, very competitive, and there is sort of a different kind of respect, and I think it's because everyone's all too aware of what a handful the car can be. So when around other drivers, people, give that bit of extra space. It's not like a door banger kind of car. You want to give people that space, because at any moment they could lose it and nose steer into you, so it's in your own interest to be respectful, really, and people seem to be like that in the official series, to be honest.
Absolutely, there's a lot of cars of similar vein, shall we say, in iRacing. From my experience of driving this car, I think I'd put it alongside the likes of the Lotus 79, but with a lot less downforce, and more closely perhaps, and slightly controversially, the sprint car. It's certainly a car that you have to drive up on the wheel, to use American parlance. It's driver's vehicle, and it's, as you say, unforgiving. What do you think of people's chances? Do you think we're going to have a very close race, or largely strung out?
Hard to say, because I have put repairs onto the session, so that does allow people to maybe have a crash or two and not be too far of it. And I've also enabled the lucky dog, so if we do have more cautions than we might want, people have got a chance to make laps back and things like that. But I think looking at the times we've got at the minute, I mean, I seem to be up at the front for some reason, but everyone else is really quite close, so I think it could, there, 3rd to 5th there, there's a nice little group all in the same time, really.
Yeah, the times are looking fairly close. Of course, our rather modest host tonight, Mr. Goodwin, as mentioned, he's quite a bit of a driver with this car, and as we mentioned earlier, driven it in the official series, so perhaps a little personal bias on his abilities, and looking at his time, it's not hard to understand why. Looking at the other cars throughout the field at the moment, we've got a fairly even spread running from the low 56 to high 57s, although with a limited number of cars coming out on track today for some early testing, I don't think it's entirely representative yet, do you, Richard?
No, not yet. There's definitely some time, there's some people, that have signed up on the forums that I would expect to be up there, sort of thing. Some more Lotus, just other drivers, which I know are fast, other cars that might be up there too.
Well, I think we have to point out for our review tonight, yes, numbers do look somewhat limited, but with iRacing releasing its Season 2 build in the clock British summertime, 99% of iRacers are either in the Carburetor Cup on the Toyota Camry or racing BMWs around the Circuit of the Americas. So, perhaps a little interesting timing going on, but hopefully we seem to be getting more people turning up now and again, so we should have a good session ahead of us.
The turnout's not so bad considering that, because I think there's like 26 people signed up so far. So to have 10 even appear on a build release where neither of these pieces of content are new, I think it's quite good, to be honest.
Absolutely. Although there is one change that has arrived in this build for the Lotus 49, and that's something that's come to quite a number of the open wheelers in iRacing at the moment. They're slowing down the jack drops from pit stops, because judging from what I've been told, there have been several rather dramatic incidents where pit stops have taken out entire fields of HPDs in the World Multi-Class sports car events due to a glitch with the contact damage. So, something that has come out for the 49 and hopefully make things cleaner. Have you ever seen that happen during a race, Richard?
I can't say I have, but I've heard about it. I've heard about it, sort of thing, getting dropped off the jacks too quick and getting like a contact incident point and things like that.
Quite a quirk, but these things do happen in video games. So, is there anything you've seen in the build so far that you're quite interested in tonight, either of you?
See Vit. Was Vit seeing anything? About. But I'll take it. I'm a personal look for the McLaren, so to see that they've addressed issues with it going over curbs and things like that, and also giving it the same traction control sound, love as the new BMW.
Well,
indeed, something that's sorely needed addressing for McLaren. One thing I certainly noticed tonight, I'll just give a quick little update whilst we're during the practice session. The Scar Mazda, what most would consider a bridging stone between the Formula 2000 Skip Barber car and the much lauded F1 series, has for a long time been quite a difficult beast to handle, with quirky different properties lacking grip. It's been quite a handful for most drivers, and to report back, having just done both short laps at Watkins Glen classic boot layout, I found the change completely listed for updates in iRacing this season. It had the longest list, so I was quite keen to check it out. Specifically, it feels like it has much more mechanical grip, better aerodynamics, whilst it's much more of a fun car to drive now, so that's something to check out in the distant future. And I hope focus on this moment, but for Wall and Ben tonight is keeping them in and managing to manage full speed. I think Richard mentioned shifting down is quite important. Getting being quite new to this car, to be very cautious with it. Though who's currently coming through turn 3, I believe. I'm on a replay. It's my own fault. Mr. Ben, I believe, is now going through turn 1. There we go. See, I'm starting to learn the track. Lots of oversteer there, Richard. Are you watching his lap at the moment?
I'm not actually. I'm just replying to someone in the text chat.
Ah, see, he's not paying attention. It's typical. No, Robert Bennett running through looks like carrying a bit too much speed, and that was my own personal problem. Is that the car wants to understeer heavily. Although he is managing to turn in a bit more now, and I think he's fighting too much to keep that back end under control. I think you were saying earlier, Richard, that it's more about letting the car get the back end out to point it.
I think, personally, I feel like that's the secret with this car. I think you have to be willing to let it move around beneath you and not fight it, because as I hit the brakes and shift down for turns 3 and 1, or 1 and 3, steps out because of that motion, despite blipping the throttle. But that aids on the turn-in, and I think that some people may feel that it's getting out of control and try to counter-steer too much, and fight it, and I think that just slows people down a bit.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of cars in iRacing where you take perfectly smooth, straight lines, you rotate, accelerate, and cars like the 49, cars like perhaps sometimes the Skip Barber, the sprint car I mentioned earlier, and the 49, the Lotus 79, you can turn with the brake and use its momentum, use its sliding to help get through those corners faster.
Yeah, and I think maybe with more modern cars, maybe like I don't know, like the Radical and definitely the Formula One car, people don't do that as much because they're just used to that downforce, you know.
Absolutely, and for those that aren't aware, the Lotus 49, although later variants of the B and C model, which had some of the earliest wings in Formula One history, the Lotus 49 we have here in iRacing, the original model, has absolutely no downforce, unless of course the driver is sporting a dashing moustache. We all know, and all you fans of moustaches do provide downforce. So I think currently the iRacing driver model is clearly been folks.
He takes that.
And just riding on board with Rich Smith, one of the eighth place driver. Oh, that's looks like he may have taken some minor damage. Quite a sensitive car, isn't it, Richard?
It's very sensitive. Just any movement, it will make you pay for it for sure.
That was one of Colin Chapman's biggest downfalls, and perhaps controversial enough, one of the reasons so many of his champions died at the wheel of his cars. His cars were very light, yet incredibly sensitive. And I know at iRacing we are perhaps overly cautious about little bumps and scrapes that won't be in the real world because of the delicate damage model. But for this car, I believe it is quite appropriate, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. When catching people around here, definitely being very cautious because I don't want to tangle with people, because if you collide doing the best part of, I mean, what are we doing on the straight? I don't even know. It's got to be coming close to 180 or something. Yeah, you're going to crash and it's not going to be good.
Absolutely. Just watching Arthur Trump, who was managing to get 170-ish, so yeah, speed's quite high, and such a fragile little car. I think I previously described it as a coffin on wheels. It certainly the middleman and takes you straight to the grave. Times and moments still not changing, although, oh, Sky, someone running rather slowly.
I think he got sideways.
How easy do you find it to modify your alignment on with this car? I know some of the faster cars, perhaps once they commit to a line, that's it. With the 49, say someone has an accident at the apex of the corner, are you going to be able to change your line and get round it with these speeds?
It will all depend on how close they are to me. If they're right ahead, I'll probably just keep my foot in it and hope that the spin takes them out of my way. I think the same with oval cars. I think if people react too harshly, you're going to spin anyway. They're trying to avoid. I think if you lift off and give it delicate movement, should be okay and get round people. But
so, what advice do you have in general for those perhaps new to this car in iRacing and new to open wheelers, especially for Thursday night's race?
Advice? I'm not sure I'm fit for giving advice. Just getting used to the feel of it, really, and isn't one of these modern cars that just sticks. You have to allow that movement beneath you, not fight it when it does move. Delicate on the throttle for sure. That will make you pay. It's got masses of power. So, spin.
It's Sky Willis, I believe, second place driver, spinning right in front of you.
Avoided it, just.
Good moves. As currently our resident semi-expert of the car, is there any other to our drivers?
What more advice?
Well, you know more about the car than I.
I think it is just understanding the weight of grip and the masses of power it's got, and just respecting that. But once you do, you can really throw it about a bit, just hit it neutral. There we go. Yeah, you just need to be comfortable with it, really, and just remember what it is. You know.
I'm not sure we set for Thursday night's race, but will we be doing a standing or rolling start?
It's going to be a rolling start.
Do you have any point for the rolling start in this car? Is there perhaps an optimal RPM to be below, a gear? RPMs to not get too close to? I know, for example, the IndyCar, once I get near 8,000 time, it will really try and spin its wheels. Has the 49 got any starting habits that you might recommend?
I'm going to be honest, I've never done a rolling start in it, so my approach will be extreme caution.
There you have it from a resident expert. Extreme caution is advised. Looking at the times again on the board, no real changes. Most drivers are out of running, although don't seem to have been managed to improve their own personal bests. Just riding on board at the moment, Rich Smith currently in its place. He's running down towards turn 3 at the moment. And I see from the text chat, rolling start, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. I think perhaps he might be a little scared at the prospect, Richard.
Well, I was sort of the opinion it will match better going into turn 1. So I had visions of someone qualifying well, attempting to dump the clutch and boot it off the line, which will basically end in a fiery death for 3/4 of the grid. So I thought rolling start was the better idea, personally.
I think you might well be right with that idea. We can't have so much power getting it started. It's the hardest part.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the official ones did, because I think it was the Lotus 67, not the 49, to the Indy 500 and won it, or something like that. Anyway, but I'm sure they did rolling starts when they did it for real. So,
well, the Indy Series has always, especially on the oval side, conduct rolling start. In fact, I believe the road side also run under rolling starts. Seems to be quite an American phenomenon, starting in motion. So I think it would be realistic to expect this car, if it had come to Indianapolis on its then brick surface, of been rolling as it crossed the start-finish line.
yeah, I think it's the best way to say it, personally.
So you said you're running fuel runs at the moment. What are you finding?
That it's quite thirsty. That's what I'm finding. Thursday night, it's going to be 150 laps. I think it's clear that it's possible to do it with not stopping, because these tyres would last about 3,500 years on anything. So it's just about finding the right fuel level, really.
So you're not running at full fuel tanks then?
Right now, no. Got about 30 gallons in it, and I think it holds about 38. So.
Okay, so a fuel strategy could be key to a good finish in this race, although I do believe to finish first, one must first finish, which could be harder than it looks in this little car.
Yeah, it's going to be a test of patience, that's for sure, and endurance.
Absolutely. Driving such a hands-on vehicle for that number of laps will be a real test of drivers' grit and experience. Oh, our esteemed leader decides to change direction repeatedly in a circle. How was that for you, Richard?
Scary.
So was that the back end coming out of the corner, or were you over-tightening to straighten up for turn 4?
I think it was just a bit too much steering input and a bit too much throttle at the same time. Caused the back to step out, and I tried to solve it with more throttle, which didn't solve it.
I do understand it seems like I'm picking on you tonight, but just trying to get some pointers and tips and advice for anybody that's new and watching this to get an insight into the car. So you might feel like a guinea pig, but we've got a appropriate cage for you.
It's fine by me. Okay.
So we've lost Anna Phillips and we've lost Arthur Tromp. So I believe at the moment perhaps 3 or 4 cars still running at this point of the session.
It's pretty good, because I expected people to leave, if I'm honest, and go and experience some of the BMW goodness.
I believe at the moment there are 3 or 4 of you on track. We have Rich Smith, 8th place. We have Robert Venn in 3rd and Sky Willis in 2nd. And of course rounded up with our special host guinea pig, Richard A. Goodwin. So are there any particular, just to dive off topic at the moment, but has anyone seen any particular interesting circuits or sessions this season for any tracks we're following, or series I should say?
Unfortunately, I haven't looked at the official one at all, so I can't really comment on that.
What about you, Pete?
Well, I'm looking forward for a GT3 challenge, trying with BMW or McLaren, which will fit me more, and yeah, that's about it. I don't have much time doing official series.
Just bear with me, folks. I'm just looking for the Lotus 49's series for Season 2. And I've found it, the Grand Prix Legend 2014 Season 2. This year, or season I should say, I keep mixing from calling it a year. This season, Lotus 49, if you're interested in this car, or if perhaps Bent gives you a deep burning passion to fight with something for 20-30 laps, into Watkins Glen International Classic layout in week 1, Circuit America's Grand Prix the next week. Week 3 will be at Laguna Seca, which could be interesting, Richard.
Laguna Seca?
Yep, Laguna Seca in the 49.
Well, I can't imagine the corkscrew in this thing.
Oh, me neither. Although in week 4, the car is actually coming here to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the IndyCar Oval. So this event might give you a insight into running it on this track.
Just come and beat everyone with all my practice.
Oh yeah. It does seem that this and the Star Mazda are both going to ovals in week 4, with the Star Mazda going to Charlotte.
Always very popular, the Star Mazda.
It is, it's very popular. In fact, you could almost say it's incredibly popular for Friday night this week, Richard.
Indeed, you could.
Sorry to shamelessly plug myself there, but that sounded bad. This Friday night of week 13, Radical Racing UK is hosting the Lights, which is basically the GP2 of IndyCar, at Charlotte Motor Speedway Oval in the Star Mazda car, which on the new tyre model should be an exciting and close race. The race will be running 133 laps, or 200 miles, of the 101.5 mile circuit. The session will be starting at 8 o'clock, so fancy a bit of baby Indy, come along and join us on Friday. And back to the Lotus 49 schedule. Sorry, I got this. What happens when we talk about ovals? Week 5, Road Atlanta full. Week 6, Brands Hatch Grand Prix. 7 will be Road America full, followed by Mosport in week 8. Week 9, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps Classic Pits. Quite an iconic track for this car, Richard.
Yeah, and I seem to remember I got a win around there in this car. It suits it really, really well, because it's like such a driver's circuit, and this is such a driver's car. I think it works well.
Just a shame we don't have a full 7-mile track.
Yeah, that would be brilliant.
It is feasible because the public roads that the courses run on still exist around the track, and if you go on Google Maps, you can even still see the layout of the original circuit this car would have run on. The series, week 10, coming to Okayama, one of my favourite tracks in Japan in iRacing, and to round out the season, Phillip Island and Interlagos Grand Prix layout. Should be fun.
Interlagos is good in any car, I think. It's a brilliant track.
Absolutely, although there were some end-of-season hiccups last night in the official UK&I Skip Barber series. Can you tell me about that?
I heard that someone started a lap ahead or finished in first when he was nowhere near first or something. I'm not sure. Some connection issue.
Don't think we're going to name any name, but I think the colourful gentleman knows exactly who he is. Some end-of-season connection issues, perhaps. It seems to always happen with Interlagos. Someone teleported from last on the grid, a lap down to a lap up at the front of the grid. which seemed to distract and slightly confuse the commentators, having suddenly a new leader ahead of the pack they were following. So, some interesting excitement going on there.
I've never come across that.
No, I haven't personally. I have heard it's happened before. Just like the glitch with the jack drop mentioning earlier, I believe a teammate of mine told me that during one multi-car endurance race, an entire field of HPDs was taken out when they pitted.
That's never a good thing.
No, and the rage was apocalyptic, I believe, from the HPD drivers. Although not from the Ford GT and Corvette drivers, who seemed much more pleased by the prospect of no HPDs around them.
It does sound like an attractive prospect.
Does it indeed? Perhaps there's some sabotage going on there from Corvette drivers and some disgruntled GP40 drivers. But we shan't go into that. Looking out on track, and we still have Richard Goodwin's Guy Willis and Robert Venn out on the circuit, currently turning laps. Rich Smith as well has moved 7th with a 56.9, improving his previous personal best by 0.2 of a second. So good improvement there from Rich.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan of the combo. He tweeted me to tell me that he couldn't basically leave the pits or down the start-finish straight. It just speared him into walls, so he wasn't happy with it, but he seems to be getting to grips with it now.
Absolutely, he's on lap 49 so far, so getting halfway there at least. The pit exit here at Indianapolis is quite an interesting one, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, I have a tendency to overcook it, coming around the inside of turn 2 there onto the back straight. When I'm in the pits, get a little bit too eager and hit the grass.
I've done that myself several times, including tonight. So what do the tyres feel like when they come up to temperature? How many laps do you think it's going to take before the tyres achieve the correct sort of race level of grip?
I think they come up quite quickly just because of the loads. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm doing mid-corner. I'll just check. I'm doing about 150 mid-corner, 140. So there's plenty of load going through them, so they're getting those rubber blocks moving and everything, and plenty of heat going through them, and they come up quite quick, and then grip hits optimal quite easily and quickly, and it doesn't seem to fall off at all. So, but if you overcook it and maybe light up the rears a bit on exit, you've got to be mindful of that, because then the rear will step out a bit more because you lose grip when they get too hot. But
absolutely. As you all know, I believe this car's on NTM5, new tyre model 5. Would that be correct, Richard?
yeah, I think it was the very first on it.
I believe, I'm looking at its handling properties, it could have done with it.
Yeah.
But new tyre model 5 has some interesting temperature properties to it. There's a study was recently executed in the forums in the new tyre model discussion section, if you want to take a look, looking at the prospects of heating the tyres. And as we all know from watching real motorsports, drivers will weave to maintain temperature in the tyres, drag the brake to build up heat in the brake drum, which radiates out. For a lot of time, these practices, shall we say, were frowned upon maybe in iRacing or considered useless. But it does seem the researchers, some techniques do have an actual benefit to iRacing, at least for a start, especially a rolling start. Although with rather dramatic loss and gain windows, shall we say, for this the heat difference. So with that taken into account, do you think that perhaps with the long straights we have here at Indianapolis, turns 1 and 3 will be the most difficult on the tyres, because they've lost going down the long straights with minimal loads, only to be put under huge pressure in those corners?
I think it's possible, but the thing with this is, I think of a car, you know, if, I don't know, like the Formula 1 car maybe, if that had a dramatic drop-off, you'd notice that, because of the amount of grip you expect it to have.
Absolutely. And speaking of cars with lower traction or grip, maybe the Legends, and definitely the alternate handles. But nothing like them. There you go. That's my insight on sprint cars. Terrifying yet highly entertaining. Something I think everybody in iRacing should try. Maybe not to race, but if you can manage to take it around a lap or speed, to teach yourself to drive one of the hardest cars in the service. Again, everything becomes easier. A lot of people, I believe, especially in the UK and I forums, preach that drive Barber, drive the Formula 2000 car, gain experience, go fast in that car, and everything's easier. Do you subscribe to that?
And admittedly, the Skippy was on older time models, which have changed the car drastically. I remember entering my first UK and I Skippy race and pootling around in last place, wondering who these guys were that were so fast. And I drove that car a lot, and I really do think it helps because you learn about the car rotating, balancing the throttle and brakes through corners to help keep the car balanced and things like that. I really think it helps myself personally.
I think you're absolutely right there. Like you, my background was in other sports, motorsports games, and you could say speed was slightly harder to attain. And like Richard, I went to Skip Barber, originally so slow, and sometimes, of course, leaving the track, making little excursions towards hard objects. I lost my wing or damaged my rear wing and didn't really notice them. In fact, I was quite adamant that they were merely deck and feet. Do you have any thoughts on the Wheeler's feet, or are you more of a tin top man?
Sorry, I forgot the question.
Sorry, our cameraman was sleeping on his workstation right there, sorry. Pete, do you have a particular preference in the open wheelers and very often in iRacing, or do you like to have a roof over your head and wheel arches?
Well, I don't have a preference, I think. I started with Skip, and then I took quite different way to Formula 1, as all people usually go through Star Mazda, or they skip through Skip to Dallara and then Formula 1 car, and I went from Skip to V8 supercars and then to Formula 1. And
that is quite a drastic change.
Yes.
And Formula 1.
I was doing Formula 1 official series for 2 seasons last year, but then they changed the tire model and I stopped liking it. Just now,
Yeah.
I prefer Skip as an open wheeler. I tried also Dallara, but it was quite boring after some time.
I think the Skip Barber is a very, shall we say, underappreciated from some avenues, yet cherished from other of iRacing. UK and I community especially, we have members with 6,000-7,000 iRatings that have been here for years and only drive what is widely considered a rookie or beginner car. That has to say a lot about the vehicle itself and its enjoyment.
Yes, for sure, and since the new tire model V5, it's one of the best cars on the service.
I would have to agree there.
That and people like Mark Mercer, who I think has just won the champion again. He drives something very, very similar on the British scene in real life. So I believe he drives it because it's quite similar to what he drives in real life. I don't think it's the same class, but it's very close, sort of thing.
I believe Mr. Mercer drives the Formula Fords now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he drives Formula Ford, which are actually built by the same company that builds the Skip Barber car for the American market.
Yeah, closer than I thought then.
Absolutely. Although, congratulations indeed to Mr. Mercer, and a special shout out to Paul Grillo, who didn't win the UK and I Skippy Series, but was crowned iRacing champion of the official side. So congratulations to both gentlemen there.
Yeah, very, very hard to do either of those things. Serious drivers they are.
Absolute superhumans. I've raced against one or two of them, and I've commented on one or two of them. And the talent and the experience amongst these guys is second to none. When you're watching their races, it's like being in the grandstands or in the booth for a foreign event. It's the ability and the talent up there. It's just unbelievable with the speeds they're doing and the moves they plan. Watching the perfect execution of a pass. I watched one such pass at Spa this season. It was Mark Mercer, Svidovic, and Sebastian Job. And Svidovic and Mercer were battling ahead, running down to the final corner at the bus stop. And Job was down in third, not really doing anything particularly aggressive, not particularly looking like a threat. As they enter the bus stop, Mercer and Svidovic go defensive. Job takes full advantage of their little ball and pulls the second place out of them, coming in from absolutely nowhere to rain on Mark Mercer's parade. It was a beautiful move and beautiful bit of strategy, and it's something I've seen him do several times. Do you think any of those chaps will be joining you on Thursday? Has anyone signed up for it?
Sadly, out of those guys, I don't think so. It's as you said, the faster guys seem to very much specialise in what they do, and well, they reap the rewards for it. They're extremely fast in it, but people like Mark Mercer I've genuinely never seen in any other vehicle. So yeah, I think the chances are quite slim, sadly.
That means then there's a chance for us mere humans once we take the aliens out of the equation, I think.
That's the way I see it, yeah.
Not to put them down or anything, but you're just too fast for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so practice seems to be winding down a little here. We only have one car currently out on track, and Richard Goodwin, I believe, is in the pits, having his face swabbed because of all the oil that's come off several wrecked cars.
And my own, just then.
And his own car just then, exactly. So, a bit of TLC in the pit lane for Mr. Goodwin before he comes out for some more laps. Robert Venice running on lap 44 for himself, currently running in third place with a time of 56.340. He's, see if we can get an onboard lap with him from the gyro cam, coming through turn 3 at the moment, and he's running up towards the wall, a little bit of a wiggle, running down, really aggressive turn in there for turn 4, really punching the car onto the racing line, rolling out again, wobbling a tiny bit, coming down the pit straight. He's running for the line, oh, very straight, not much steering corrections. As he's coming along, crossing the line, and he does a 57.077. Again, quite aggressive push in for the apex. A little too much speed, running a bit wide there from the apex as he runs down the short straight to turn 2. But again, a nice aggressive turn in, but just too wide. Running about 5 meters wide of the apex down the corner. Out very close to the wall as he runs down and back across. Running down and then topping out at nearly 190 miles an hour on the straight as he's braking down for third. Getting down to 140 miles an hour. Nails the apex there for turn 3. Running out, not as much wiggle there coming down. Again, really aggressive for 4. Perhaps that's a bit of a downfall for him there. He seems to be very aggressive when he's turning, Richie.
Yeah, I've just been watching the same lap, and he just, I mean, I don't want to put him down or anything, he just seems to be overdriving it a little bit at the moment, trying to find time that isn't there. He just needs to relax a bit and wind back off the corners a touch, and it'll come to him. Oh, he's stopping now.
I believe that was an involuntary stop, but yeah, interesting lap there from Robert Venn. Rich, just have a quick look at the comments in the in-sim box, would you?
Oh, that I'm louder.
You are a rather loud gentleman, yes.
How's that? Is that in quiet?
Not really at all. Sorry folks, there's been some minor technical issues where Mr. Goodwin has had his microphone and speaker volumes, I think, turned up from being inside the very noisy cockpit of his Lotus.
How's that? Is that any better? Because that's nearly muted on my mic.
I'm not hearing this from the viewer's side, so we'll have to get one of our viewers to tell us. Mr. Smith, if you're listening in, please let us know. So Robert Venn's heading out on track again, keeping it nicely under control as he runs out 100 miles an hour exiting the pits. That's optimistic. He's now running to turn 2's pit lane kink, a very interesting run from the pit lane here. He's up to 150 miles an hour before he enters rear straight. That's quite optimistic, but potentially a threat in the race there. Currently on track we have Robert Venn and Rich Smith both turning laps. The two of them separated by 0.6 of a second. No, 0.4 of a second. It's my own fault there. And immediately, Richard Goodwin's time has been pipped by Jeremy Bouteloup. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Bouteloup? I'll do. With a 55.58. What a time there.
That's very fast. I'm not even sure he's signed up for the event, which is ironic, but...
Quite sad there. Oh well. Oh, we'll have to invite him along. Although perhaps no chance to win. Oh, he's just kissed the wall in the exit of 3 and entrance to 4. And I think that's the end of his lap. Very fortuitous exit from his car there. Just managed to get off the track just as Robert Venn came through the next corner. We've got Rich Smith coming out through the start of the pit exit now to start his next run on the lap. Do bear with us tonight, folks. We're just having some teething troubles with the broadcast system whilst we get set up for Thursday night's race. Hopefully things will run smoothly on Thursday. Okay, and Jeremy is coming up behind, I believe, the car of Robert Venn, and they're running together through turn 3 or entry to the corners. And
yeah, I think that's key. Like I was saying, I think Robert was maybe slightly overdriving it, and he should just let the car turn in itself, sort of thing, because Jeremy's looking less ragged than me. He's looking very smooth altogether.
It's no wonder, because if I'm not mistaken, Jeremy Bouteloup was one of those lucky ones who took part in last year GT Academy in Silverstone.
Oh really? Rich goes to Google.
two stalwart drivers, Rich Smith and Robert Venn, still out on trailing laps, with 61 for Rich Smith and 59 for Robert Venn. Both going for race simulation lengths of runs here. Yeah, don't you think, Richard?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're just trying to get some... I think Rich especially is just trying to get some time under his belt as well, because say you commented how much of a handful the combo is, and Jeremy Bootsaloop definitely is the guy from GT Academy. So, yeah, I'm not too ashamed to be by him.
So a rather experienced racer there, topping the times at the moment with a 55.542. Those times again are Bootaloo in first place, 55.42. Richard Goodwin in second with 55.705. Robert Venn third, 56.062. Fourth place, Guy Willis, 56.127. Rounding up top 5 is Arthur Trump with a 56.0505. Times from then on are ranging from 56.5 up to 57.7, so about 2 seconds first place and 11th at the moment, although a definite gathering of times from 3rd up to 10th place. Just going to ride on board for a moment with Rich Smith, the number 82 car, 8th place, pushed back up to his old spot on the timing sheet by the arrival of our GT Academy driver. Rich is currently running at 56.780, and he's just entering turn 4 before arriving to the final straight so he can make his next timed lap. And just like Jeremy Bootaloo, like Robert Venn, Rich has definitely got a smoother entry to the corner. He's turning in a little earlier, and he's being much gentle with the wheels, and Robert Venn's very aggressive style of throwing the car into the corner. Clearly fast for Robert, and, you know, a different, valid style, but Rich seems to have a different smoothness to his driving that really seems to have a consistency to it. Robert, I believe, has visited the wall a good number of times more than Richard, evidenced by 20 less laps on the timing board, despite them having started on track about similar times.
Yeah, it's key, and I'm now having a look at tyre wear to see if that's going to be issues at all.
I believe you mentioned earlier that these tyres had a rough lifespan of 30,000 years?
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that the super hard compound and drivers used to use them for multiple races. I think people like Jim Clark did. I think Graham Hill used to kill the tyres a little bit. He wasn't as mechanically sympathetic.
Well, Jimmy Clark always had a reputation for nursing any car he drove to excellent and legendary finishes in races. The man really understood how to work the cars in the grip. Graham Hill, a more sacrificial driving style, but nonetheless still a legend of the Formula One racing in a dangerous era. Graham Hill most notably left up the emotional and literal pieces after Jimmy Clark's death at Hockenheimring, rather tragically. And back on track we have Rich Smith, still running around, a little bit loose perhaps, coming into two, I apologise. Running around much closer to the apexes than Robert Venn. And Luke Ridgway seems to be back. This means we might have another car on track soon.
Yeah, he went for some Circuit of the Americas BMW type for a while, and then has come back as him, the same as Rich, admitted they're going to need some seat time to get up to speed. Absolutely.
I do think the Circuit of the Americas may have dragged away a few potential racers that might have practiced and run. New and shiny always trumps old and scary, I think.
Yeah, I think scare is the main part.
my own personal feelings of this car. As much as I love the Tecton, would love to drive it, I just have this niggling feeling at the back of my mind that every millisecond that the car is on track with the engine running, it is plotting new ways to kill me, and usually succeeds. So, not quite within my remit of driving at this time, but I know my limitations. It's an enjoyable vehicle to drive though, a handful and definitely a driver's car, but a powerful and unforgiving vehicle. It, along with iRacing's high fidelity and accuracy in this simulator, it really gives you an appreciation of just how good the legends of the 1960s really were, and 70s, with such handfuls of cars.
For sure. Like, I get worried, and this is just a virtual environment. I cannot... I never ever would have gotten in a car like this and driven it in anger. Like, yeah, I'd do a demo lap, but I wouldn't go around any circuit redlining this at all.
Absolutely. The names on Lotus's results table speak for themselves. Jim Clark, Graham Hill, Jackie Oliver, Mario Andretti, Joe Sifford.
Serious heritage.
Absolutely. All cars. Jochen Rindt, of course. How can we forget Rindt? Emerson Fittipaldi. These drivers, some of the legends of Formula One, began their racing careers in this car. And the speeds they could do, I have a greater respect for them now, having driven this car in iRacing, because they were talented and superhuman and fearless individuals. Let's have a look quickly who's out on track. Robert Ven's coming back out from the pit exit. His customary 110-mile-an-hour pit exit. Quite the cowboy there. I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to try that. Even Rich Smith has finally pitted, although not having changed his previous best time, unfortunately. Currently, then, the only car on track, cars plural now, as Richard Goodwin makes his exit onto the track, are Robert Venn, who's just finishing his outlap, about to turn through turn 4 onto the start-finish straight, and Richard Goodwin, who's just exited onto the back straight. So some good separation there for good, fast qualifying simulation and tyre wear simulations, Richard.
Yeah, I'm just about to do a qualifying run and see what I can get.
Well, we hope you pip Mr. Bootaloo his time. We're all counting on you, no pressure.
We'll see.
You are being brought live, we're on board with you now. Goodwin's just entering turn 2 on his second lap, previous being a 55.779. Oh, banging off the wall there on the exit of 4. Not the started ones.
Shame.
Nothing like the pressure of being under the spotlight, is there, Richard?
And that's fine, but yes.
I think that's dampened his ardour somewhat in his attempts to run a slightly faster lap. I think pushing it to the ragged edge is a little too ragged, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can match that time. I mean, I've dropped all the fuel out of it and stuff. But then again, I suppose there's no substitute for actual natural talent.
Not saying that you don't have natural talent, but perhaps the tyres could have done with a few more laps of warm-up before you decided to fly into the wall.
Yeah, maybe. I'll give that a go now and we'll see.
Robert Venn, our third place driver, is heading back to his trailer, I think. Some much needed rest and a lie down after that practice session. His time finally on the listing, a 56.062. A comfortable third place by over half an inch, which, considering the next place driver is no longer in the session, I would say pretty secure. So, Richard, would you just talk us through the format for Thursday night's race, please?
Okay, so 6:45 the server opens, and I think I've put it to an hour's practice as a spin-off, because I can't do two things at once. So I think there's an hour's practice, and I'm pretty sure I've set it to 15 minutes open qualifying. Just because I like the challenge that presents itself, open format, and then 150 laps with cautions, rolling star and lucky dog.
Well, looks to be a fun night of retro oval racing folks, so please do come along and join us on Thursday, where we will be in full swing for the Pitton's second birthday party event.
Sorry, I've got my determined head on now. I don't like being beaten.
Folks, this could be exciting racing action, so let's get ourselves a nice onboard view of Richard Goodwin as he runs on to start-finish straight to begin his faster lap. He's hoping to gain just under 2 tenths, 1.6 tenths of a second over first place Jeremy Bouteloup. Running a perfect line, although a little perhaps wide into turn 1. He's getting extra drive though out of turn 1 as he approaches turn 2. Absolutely stunningly close line there running through. He runs out to the wall on the back straight. A little bit of a wiggle of the car, tries to put extra power down as he makes that run for the line. Running now towards turn 3, topping out at 193 miles an hour as he breaks down. Over 50 miles an hour difference to 140 miles an hour in apex of turn 3, running out to the wall. A little bit of a hiccup as he runs down, apexing a little bit wide for turn 4, although he tucks it on the exit and gets the power down early. Car behaving fairly well considering as he runs up towards the line. Running now 185, 86, 7 miles an hour as he crosses the finishing line with a 55.6. That's a big improvement over his previous personal time by 0.04 of a second, which in this car is a lot, and puts him just 1.2 tenths away from Jabutalou. Let's see if you can put another one of those laps together. Much cleaner exit. Turn 2 there for Richard Goodwin. Topping out a little 194 there at the end of the straight. That could be critical. Keeping his speed up a little bit higher as he runs through turn 3. Apexing at more like 143. Running now for turn 4. He seems to maybe have backed off a little.
I nudged the wall slightly.
There you go, folks. The live onboard feed from our driver as he wallops the wall like a cantering mare.
A cantering mare. Well, I think that's my maximum.
Well, and the final maximum it is, Richard. That's it there, folks. A 55.660, which is nearly a whole 0.4 clear of third place, which is one of the biggest margins of time so far in the session. We have times towards the end of this session now, running from 55.542 all the way up to 57.752. So just about 2 seconds in it there. Quite a close field, but as you can see, time is very hard to come by. Okay, folks, well, we still have just over 1 hour, 20 minutes remaining session if you want to jump in and practice your skills around Indianapolis with the Lotus 49 ahead of this Thursday's race. So far, the session's been an exciting one, and we've had some very good racing, a lot of hard running from our drivers as they really attempt to find their pace and their endurance with this very, very challenging car. I'd just like to invite you, come along whether you want to race or watch on Thursday night for the Pit Lane's second birthday extravaganza, which will be a rather retro Indianapolis 500 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So join us at 8 o'clock for practice, then qualifying and the race Thursday night on iRacing. You'll be able to find the stream here in the exact same place. So tune in to see us then. Good night.